If you love taping, then this video is not for you, because we're gonna lay down the law, we're gonna talk about the truth and what taping can actually do for you and what it really can't do.
Hey, that one stayed.
When we look at taping, we want to first talk about what most people do it for. They do it when they have like a finger injury to try and protect some of their tissue. So how much average force do we put on our tissue? So let's take crimping, because that's what we think of when we think of putting a lot of pressure on our fingers. Our A2 pulley, it can take and manage up to 280 newtons of force. Our A4 pulley, it's about 226. All right, these tissues, in order for them to fail, takes a load of about, on average, 400 newtons of force. So we generally don't reach that, which is why we can keep crimping and keep climbing and not get injured. But if we have like a shock to the system, such as a slip and a fall, and we overload it, that pulley, the tissue, will fail at over about 450 newtons of force. Where does taping come into this? Well, the average tape, like one of our Mueller or the 3M tapes, they have a tensile strength of about 519 newtons of force. So obviously 519 is bigger than 400 or 450, right? Yeah, that's a good thing. But that testing is for 100 millimeter thickness of tape. So that's like 3.9 something inches, and the average male middle finger is only 3.72 inches. So that would literally mean that you're taping your entire finger, so you're not moving it, you're not doing anything with it. So in a sense, you're just isolating that finger, not doing anything with it. So reality, most of us will use like a 1/4 inch tape or smaller, so you're not giving yourself much protection. In fact, what a lot of the research shows is taping will only reduce the stress by about 11%. Okay, so that's not going to give you a significant reduction in what you're looking for to prevent an injury. Also, the other thing that we have to think about is once you've climbed and you do something hard, that tape will stretch. So now it's not going to be absorbing those forces at all because you've already stretched it out. So you have to replace that tape basically every time you climb something challenging. So taping will not prevent you from getting an injury. It is not going to be able to absorb the amount of forces it takes for you to get an injury, and it does not have enough tensile strength to protect those tissues. What it can do, though, things such as like H-taping can reduce stress on an injured pulley by around 13%, still not a lot. Or you can use taping for like buddy taping or something like that to try and prevent yourself to stop using that particular injured tissue. The other thing, and this is the one thing that's actually really helpful with taping, is it provides biofeedback for the person. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, it makes you aware of what's going on there. It makes you feel sometimes safer and you can trust it more, which allows you to feel more confident with your climbing. So that way, as you're going through these moves, you're not moving in a way that you normally wouldn't to try and avoid that finger. You may end up overloading like your 4th finger because you're afraid of, overloading that injured one, and all of a sudden you get another injury. So for some people, that works out great. But the bottom line is you have to know like what kind of climber you are. Myself personally, I don't use tape even if I'm recovering from an injury because I don't want to feel overconfident in that tissue that, oh, I have tape on there, I'm going to be fine. But if you are the type where you're more worried and not aware of what's going on with that injury, then H-taping can give you some biofeedback and perspective to help prevent from going too hard on that tissue, but it's not going to prevent an injury. So takeaway, it's not going to prevent you from getting another injury. It can give you biofeedback. It can reduce the strain and stress on an injured tissue by a little bit, but it's not something that you should use as a crutch to prevent yourself from getting injured. All right, so now that you know the truth about taping, don't use as much tape, save the world, and have fun climbing. Maybe a better sign-off. All right, so H-taping, it's really most helpful for supporting our A2 pulleys. They've got great diagrams out there if you find them on how it can add a little bit of support. But again, only about 13% decreased tension on the pulleys. So we don't need a huge piece of tape when we start, but we do need functional scissors. So we got our first little cut. And the important thing then is we're gonna make 2 cuts on either end. So if you just have a little cut here, you can start it on either side. Okay, and then we're gonna take those 2 little cuts and we're just gonna pull down until we get about an H or a cross, whichever you prefer to see it as. So then we have 2 different ends, and we're gonna try and put basically the H part over that pulley. So we're gonna try and get that support right over that joint. So here's our A2 pulley, A4 pulley. We're gonna go over that joint. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna provide support. So we wanna actually go kind of into our crimping position, and we're gonna wrap that line around one side and then around the other. Then we really wanna make sure we're in that position that we want the support. So then again, we go around one side and then pull that support around to the other. So it's not a lot of tape on it, but what it's trying to then do is provide that support to basically keep your pulleys supported against itself, because we have protection. The pulley is going over those ligaments. So now what you're doing, and you need to make that tight so it actually provides support, is actually getting an additional little band across that tendon to support the pulley. So we have both aspects of it supported now. So you can even feel, like, or I can feel as I try and straighten out, I'm not gonna be able to go as far, but that's okay, because we're meant to be for that kind of crimping position to provide just a little extra support to those 2 pulleys.
You just had to do the middle finger, didn't you?
I always do. Why? Come on. Be responsible, Jason. Oh, we're ready. Ah, darn. I don't remember where I left off. I ruined that part.
You chose this. Look.
This light's so hot. I feel it. I don't know if it was too corny or not. Sweet. Crush it, bro. 3-7, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Okay. But we will talk about how... Going over. Oh no, it's slipping from my hand. Ugh.